The troubled teen, who has grown into an award-winning photographer, now mentors other young people through SEPA Gallery. And so the student has become the teacher, and the little girl who had every reason not to succeed did.
Look at where I've come from. Take a look at where I've come from. Take a look at where I've come from. Thoughts of my life. I got a lot on my mind. Not enough time. I go.
My name is Aitina Fareed-Cooke, and I am from Buffalo, New York, the East Side. My childhood, I like to look at it as being dealt a hand of cards that is pretty interesting. You know, you got a couple of good cards in there, but you know, it's not looking too good. And I didn't have a choice. It was just randomly given. My mother, my biological mother, had some beautiful woman. I look just like her, dimple and all, beautiful brown skinned woman. She had some voids in her life, and she filled those voids with drugs. And because of that addiction, there were some things that that she, you know, fell short in with me, my sister, and my brother. We were left for a few days and picked up by the system, picked up by the county, and placed into foster care. And so I was about 14 months old going into foster care, and basically stayed in the system until I was adopted at 7. I lost my mother when I was 3. She died from an overdose. And it was really difficult growing up and not having that force or that presence in my life. However, I had a good force and presence through my adoptive mother. So though I was born to a woman who chose to consume drugs, I was chosen by a woman who offered me the opportunity to bloom. As parents, we're not perfect, but she did the best that she could, and I really give her credit in shaping my life. So I had some tough memories, and I had some great memories. So I'd like to look back and say that my childhood was a growth and development process. When I was younger, I was actually told that I would, or it was deemed that I would be a failure to thrive due to the circumstances that I come from, due to my biological mother, who was said to have been doing drugs while I was in her womb. So I was labeled a failure to thrive, and also me, my sister, and my brother were diagnosed as emotionally handicapped. So it was difficult to express myself, express my emotions, to communicate. But there was this one counselor, because I had to go to counseling growing up, and this counselor saw that it was difficult for me to shape my words, to express myself. So she gave me a pen and a paper, and she told me to write it down. And so I fell in love with writing there. And then in my teens, later on, I was part of a program called Yo Buffalo, and they had multiple programs for the community. Really did a great job of pulling youth out of certain circumstances and giving us something that we can latch on to and to grow and develop as young people, but also looking for future, looking at our future and investing in it. And they provided me with opportunities to learn in other programs, one of which is SEPA Gallery, Squeaky Wheels, the list goes on and on. But SEPA and Squeaky Wheel gave me a desire for photography and film. And so I learned about that there. I had this writing skill, and I took those things and the love for and passion for working with youth, and I developed and nurtured those passions, all the while working regular jobs, had it on the side, always doing something, trying to teach young people, trying to figure out ways to really showcase my talents and skills. And it turned into what I'm doing today. So that's kind of, you know, the story in which I got to where I am now. The quick version.
joined by Benny the Butcher.
This is D from the Projects. Rick G.
Dr. Kelly Lucci.
Hey, what's up, Mr. D. Wilson?
It's Michelle Visa.
I'm Nishar Muhammad.
TJ Iceberg. This is how I came up.
This is how I came up.
And this is how I came up.
How you doing? My name is Sam Hill, host of How I Came Up. Do you have a success story that you would like to share with the world? If so, please go to ScoldMoveTV.com and submit that story. And just maybe we'll allow you to share that story with the rest of the world.
Mom was found with a needle in her arm in an apartment room. They said I would end up just like my mom, with a past of prostituting, drug, sex, lies, consumed the flesh while I was in a womb. So they said I was a crack baby.
You know, the first kind of writing piece that I can remember that I wrote that made me feel like, oh man, this is amazing. Not that I can remember what I wrote, but I remember the circumstance. When I was a student at SEPA Gallery through Yo Buffalo, there was this, we did exhibits. And for my portion of the exhibit, I showcased this photo that I took when I was I was going to performing arts, and it was my friend. He was sitting in the middle of the hallway facing me. So I was taking a picture of him, and I said, you know what? Because I saw the shadows, I saw the lines, and the light that was coming through, all these different elements of photography. And I said, oh man, like what would it look like if you turned around and your back was facing me? So he turned around and I took that picture. I'll never forget taking that picture, because it just meant so much to me in that moment. It's just like I can't, right now I can't put words to it, but at that point I did put words to it. It was a poem, and the poem dealt with like not being able to see, but understanding that there is a future coming. And so though I couldn't see this individual's face, I knew that they'd be all right, or something along that line. But I wrote that, I took that picture, and I think it was the attention that it received that made me feel like I might be good at this. I might be good at this. And so Crystal Peoples, back then, she was a politician. She's been doing this for years. She was the first person who purchased a photo of mine. So I was about 16 or so. She bought that photo, and I believe last time I saw her, she said she still has it up in her office, which is super dope. So I'll never forget that. And I think that impacted me in the way I wrote. I love to write to photos. As far as theater is concerned, I'll never forget, I wrote my first play when I was in 7th grade, and I was able to showcase that on a stage at my school at Lorraine Academy, I believe. And like it was crazy because I was able to get like students involved, and everybody had their parts and stuff. It was called Rich Kid, and it was about this rich kid who ran into a poor individual, and like the rich kid was trying to get away from their family because it was just all too much. Everybody was worried about all these things that didn't matter. And so he ran into this other kid and wind up going to the stranger's house and learning about, you know, how they lived. And just he learned and developed so much, and learned that, you know, just because you have riches, it doesn't really add to who you are at the end of the day, because the poor family was like loving and caring and paid attention to each other. So it was dope. It was dope. That was like my first play that I put together and put out there.
This is not a what?
Camera.
Are you sure?
It is.
This is a camera.
I
am so excited to amaze your little minds. This is definitely a camera.
I like to say I'm good at teaching. Really, I'm good at telling stories, and I'm really good at teaching. I'm pretty confident in that. I love to teach, and in order to do that, I went through a lot of different jobs that really pushed my teaching abilities. So I worked with Boys and Girls Club. I worked with CAO, where I was a youth development professional. I worked with the Heart Foundation, where I was a mentor. I worked with SEPA Gallery as a photography teaching assistant, and then a photography teacher. I worked in a lot of organizations in which I utilized the opportunity to expand and stretch my abilities to teach. I believe that my love for photography and love for the camera and understanding how the camera is similar to who we are, as far as the lens being our eyes, as far as the viewfinder being like your mind, and paying attention to what you are going to choose to do in life and putting your goals in front of you, framing and composition, how you arrange your day, how you arrange your goals. So being able to see, I believe creative writing allowed me to do this too, but being able to see the world in a way where everything is connected, and then trying to find the teachable moment in those spaces. So a lot of things that helped me was being around some very strong leaders. Some that I can think of is Nafisa Habib, who worked with Boys and Girls Club, watching her move and shake and deal with other professionals and deal with circumstances that were difficult. Watching Morgan Williams Bryant, man, deal with certain circumstances over at CAO, and the way that she handled us as employees and really cared about our growth. Watching Joanna Rozier, watching just these different individuals, Lauren Tent, just different people who really showcased a great leadership skills, and really watching them and taking in all of the meat of what they were showcasing, and then taking that and then trying to find ways to formulate and showcase what I could do. So one is being a good follower, trying to find who are the leaders in these spaces, and watching and learning and growing from that. That helped me become the professional that I am today. And then educating myself, going to ECC, going to Buff State, having great professors who taught and was creative in teaching, and taking every opportunity as an opportunity to grow and develop, even when those opportunities weren't the best scenarios or situations. Even when I found myself in positions where it's like, oh my God, I cannot do this. But in those situations, looking at it and saying, I don't like being in this situation, but what can I learn? And as I'm learning, how can I teach? So I really feel like there's multiple things that have helped me develop, but pursuing education, watching good leaders, taking in those situations, taking in the things that they're teaching, and just taking every opportunity as a teachable moment, trying to learn from those moments.
One of the first photographs she ever took was so good it was used as an ad for SEPA Gallery. It must have been a natural.
I guess. I guess I was. I was just very passionate about capturing life.
These days, Aitina Fareed-Cooke is a professional photographer with her own business called Get Fokus'd Productions.
So what I do right now as a profession, but as a passion, is I started a company called Get Fokus'd Productions, and the three things that we focus on is capturing stories, telling stories through the lens, through the pencil or pen, and teaching young people and adults how to capture their stories, and also teaching teachers how to teach youth in the classroom, especially urban communities, how to be themselves as teachers, but come with an understanding and learn how to take what they know, take the knowledge that they have, listen and understand the language of the children, and translate what they're trying to give them to something that the kids can connect to. So just a lot of teaching, that's the bulk of what I do. And then give back. Whatever I earn under contracts, I put a portion to the side so that I can invest in the next generation of creatives. It's very important. I was I was given to, I was invested in, and so I feel like that's important right now. Well, there's an exhibit that I did, I believe earlier this year, 2020, called Tales from the Porch, and the purpose of it was to try to break down the stereotype that, you know, this certain side of Buffalo is like this, and there's nothing good from this side, or this side is like this. So I wanted to learn about the different sides of Buffalo and see if some of the stereotypes were true. And so, you know, I come from the East Side. Most people say it's rough, it's violent, it's, you know, high crime, it's nothing good comes out of the East Side, all of these things. But it's like, well, that's not true, because I came from the East Side. And I know a slew of individuals who come from the East Side, and they're diamonds. And just because there's many diamonds that are in the rough and deep down in the soil doesn't mean that it's not there. You have to dig. And those programs that I was part of helped dig and water and nourish the diamond that I was able to become. But using the camera and capturing people and capturing their stories and listening to them and hearing them out, like through this project, Tales from the Porch, I learned that, oh, the South Side is not as bad as I heard, or it isn't, you know, there's some things that are true. It is real. Like, but what I learned is that there are some things that are true and some things that are not so true. There are similarities and there are differences. But the thing is, like, everybody's human. Everybody's trying to do the best they can. So I look at that example as just an opportunity to use my camera as this weapon, as this force. I'm fighting against these stereotypes. I want to bring people together. So yeah, that's like in a nutshell. It's my mass weapon of it's my weapon of creativity. It's my weapon to showcase like humanity.
Take a look at where I've come from. Take a look at where I've come from. I come from a place, that dark life. I come from a place, that East Side.
Living in the moment now, looking back, there's a lot of times where I tried to point blame at certain things, but I've realized that many of the struggles that I went through were rooted deeper into some of the things that I dealt with as a child. So being that I didn't have my mother or my biological mother, I did have a mom in my life. But it's something about that biological parent, not having her. And then my biological father, I didn't have him in my life until I was 18. And so just the fear of abandonment was an issue. It was an issue for me that I did not know was an issue until I got older and I started to look at the way that I was moving, not communicating well with individuals, or just afraid to establish relationships and go through the grind of building relationships with people, because I felt like if I get too deep in this, something's going to happen, and then things aren't going to work out. And I'm talking not relationships in a sense of like boyfriend girlfriend type of thing. I'm talking like relationships with people, period. Just really helped me back a lot. It was really tough. And then the fear of vulnerability, the fear of just saying what it is that I'm going through or dealt with. Like, here I am today speaking about some things that I used to be afraid to say that, like, I wish my biological mother did not choose drugs, and I wish that she was in my life. I felt like I couldn't say that, you know. I felt like, if I say that, people might feel like, well, hey, you know, it is what it is. And that's how I felt, like, push through it. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. But there's something about taking time to acknowledge what has happened. That is very powerful, to step back and think about the things that have happened in my life and how they have affected me so that I can be free. My life is built around my faith. God is the foundation. And so when I find myself in some low moments and some low times, I remember whose I am. I remember, and then from there, because I have God, that's my faith, then I have my family. That's next. So if I feel at my lowest, I thank God that I have my husband, Josh, who is a strong supporter of me, but he is rooted in God as well. So being able to lean on somebody who leans on what I lean on is important. So in my low moments, I'm able to talk with him. Family is important. Family is important. I believe it's one of the keys to many things, financial freedom, just, I can go on and on. But when I'm at my lowest point, it's God, it's my family, so my husband. Then I look at my children. When I look at my children, it gives me strength because I know that they see me. It reminds me like, yo, you gotta keep pushing. But yet, yes, I may be weak. And in those weak moments, I'm not afraid to showcase my weakness. But also while I'm showcasing it in a wise way, I want them to understand, like, I'm gonna push through this. I need you to see me be weak, but push and just try to be as strong as possible, even in my weakest moments. And allowing myself to take a breath, allowing myself to fall into the supporters that I have. So God, family, and then I have, my extended family. I got my adoptive mother who's 87, still moving and shaking. If I feel at my lowest moment, I can go to her. And then just, also other friends and other supporters in my life. But then I think of what I'm doing it for. And that's for the next generation. So if I'm in my low moments, like, yo, pray, push, persevere.
A life-changing night for multiple Western New York small businesses as they discover they have won thousands of dollars.
So my biggest accomplishment to date. So see, I'm a tough one. I'd say, like, I could say, running a business and seeing, starting my own business and being able to earn an income that was beyond what I was earning when I was working within organizations. I could say that. I could say, the awards that I've received, winning Ignite Buffalo, having degrees, my undergrad and master's degree. I could say, the different things that I've been able to do as far as teaching is concerned, the opportunities that I've been able to open up for young people. Like, it's a lot of different accomplishments, but my biggest to date is the fact that I'm present and I do the best that I can with my family. Like, I love my family. I love my husband. I love my kids, and I'm doing the best that I can right there. That's my biggest accomplishment. What's next for me? So I'm working on a project. I'm working on multiple projects, actually. As far as music is concerned, I'm working on an album. I was signed to a label called God Over Money, one of the biggest labels in Christian hip hop to date. I'm the first woman on the label, so that's dope. And I'm working on my first album to drop through the label. So I'm doing that. I am going to be doing an exhibit, collaborating with another artist, another photographer, and that exhibit is going to be in Buffalo at Pineapple Company, just a small exhibit. Doing that, working on some visual projects and just dabbing into a lot of different things, just trying to see where my creativity takes me. That, and then also running an apprenticeship. So I have about 7 to 8 teens who are learning under me, and it's all virtual. I'm teaching by way of Zoom, and teaching them about photography, and teaching them about graphic design and live streaming. So they'll be working to develop questions, research different businesses, different careers that they're interested in, and reaching out to different individuals who are in those career fields so that they can interview them through live streaming. And so those are some key things that I'm working on right now. I am Aitina Fareed-Cooke, and this is how I came up.
What is your name and where are you from? Hello, my name is Sam Hill. I'm the host of How I Came Up. How I Came Up is a platform for our entrepreneurs and professionals to share their successes and their struggles. And hopefully, they'll give us some tips to success. Now let's get to it. This is how I came up.